Hey, what's up? Chris Martinez, Operation Agency Freedom. I just wrapped up an incredible audio session with my good friend and client, Mike Brevick. And on this call, he runs an agency called Cyberdogz, by the way. And so on this call, we dove deep into the importance of finding the right people for specific roles when you're trying to scale your agency, and also the power that comes with trust and empowering those amazing people. And Mike talked about his transition from being a one man show to now having a big agency. He's got, gosh, I mean, I can't even remember how many employees he's got, but he's got a lot of team members now. All of this happened within a very short amount of time, like within a year. He's been scaling his agency like crazy. And there's challenges that comes with that, right? You have challenges of letting go of old identities, embracing your new responsibilities. And it's not easy. It's not easy. So we also talked about the significance of maintaining a friendly and fun work environment, something that's very, very um, relevant to a lot of agency owners and things that they can, and something that they can relate to. And so you do that, but also you have to make sure that you're hitting those deadlines and keeping the clients happy. So Mike talked a lot about that. He talked about embracing failure, learning from those challenges. The entire interview is very inspiring for me. Of course, all of our clients are amazing human beings, so it's great to be able to showcase Mike and talk about all the things that he's been doing, hear his valuable advice on planning for the future and dealing with adversity, and just his overall commitment to building a successful, multiple seven-figure agency, but also maintaining that work-life balance. He's got a young one with a young baby, and then is also, I think, that toddler, the baby. But I also know that he's got a baby on the way now too, which is really, really exciting. So very excited for this interview, and I think you'll really enjoy it too. So let's head on over there. All right, everybody. Well, welcome to the show, Mike Brevick. What's happening, Mike? How are you, brother?
Not much. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing fantastic. Excited to be able to chat with you. We've known each other now for what? Close to 18 months, maybe somewhere around
Yeah,
there.
knocking on 2 years, I suppose.
Knocking on 2 years. And I just saw you not too long ago in Vegas when we had our event out there, and hopefully seeing you again soon. So for those that don't know who you are, why don't you start out by giving us the name of your agency as well as like a little elevator pitch, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah. So the name of my agency is Cyberdogz, and basically we're a design and creative agency that kind of specializes in brand and kind of logo creation and kind of finding that first step for people. But then we also supplement with all the other things, website to social media to graphic design, and basically help clients kind of backfill those needs on a monthly basis.
And not to mention really cool gear, because you hooked me up with some cool gear as well.
We do a lot of merch. Yep.
You have like the best merch, I think, of anybody that I've met.
I learned that a long time ago. Like, if people have nice stuff and nice quality, cool brand, people will wear it, and
Mhm.
it is by far the cheapest advertising there is.
Totally, totally. So how long have you had your agency for?
We are going to be coming up on our 8-year anniversary in November.
That's fantastic. Well,
Yep.
congratulations. And obviously I've been tracking your progress over the past year, and you're having a pretty darn good year, man, in terms of growth.
Yeah, we've kind of grown every year, but we kind of started 2023 with a commitment to we're going to go bigger this year, and if that
Mhm.
means if that means people, if it means new services, whatever it's going to take, we're going to really focus on that this year. And, it started off a little bumpy because it's like there's just so much going on, but we started
Right.
to kind of feel the traction in the spring, and we
Mhm.
just kind of kept our foot on the gas. And all of a sudden, it's like we're in fourth quarter and we're just having a monster year. So it's awesome.
So how many team members, and you don't have to tell me the exact number if you don't remember, but like in January of this year, how many team members did you have?
In and out contractors and whatnot,
Yeah.
um, what 15?
And then where are you at now?
We're about 22 or 23.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
And
not
and
doubling, but that's amazing. And the revenue is like close to tripling, right, this year?
Correct, and it is kinda doubling in a way because a
Mhm.
lot of the contractors are not full-time. So,
Oh, okay.
by adding, 5 full-timers and kinda
Mhm.
just putting more focus on certain kinda silos of the business,
Mhm.
it really made a difference as far as, like, just end result and the amount of work we could push through the pipe.
Mhm. So we're in the fourth quarter now. It's October, as of when we're recording this. Looking back to last December when we were in San Diego, actually, what are some of the things that you see now that you're like, man, like I should have implemented that a year ago? Or like, what are some of the biggest lessons that you've had going through all this growth?
You know, I'm gonna back up my mindset to actually San Diego
Yeah.
because sitting in that environment with those other
Hmm.
people and kinda hearing their stories,
Hmm.
it just motivated me to be like, I'm just wasting time. Like, I can't wait any longer."
Yeah.
And that was kind of the eye-opening moment for me. So, like,
Hmm.
to fast forward to today, like, yeah, there's a lot of things I could have done differently or learned, but I think the big pivotal moment was in San Diego when, like, I was listening to people talk about the things they had done that for no other reason, I could have done them too. I just hadn't done it yet, or I was scared, or I didn't know how, or whatever it was. So leaving that conference or that get together, that was kind of my commitment going into 2023 was that come hell or high water, I'm doing it.
So what are some of the specifics that you like the epiphany moments that you had in there where you're like, I should be doing this or I need to be doing this?
I mean, I knew it going in, but it became that much more apparent to me that I was kind of understaffed and I
Mm,
needed to just pull the trigger and get over the fear and understand that, like, bringing in the people expands the pipe, expanding the pipe makes you more capable, being more
mhm,
capable brings more work. It's kind of a ripple effect.
mhm,
And it's an investment. You've got that 30 or 60 days to build the funnel.
mhm.
But once you get it built, it justifies itself.
Yes.
And when I think it was Laura Johns and I can't
Mm,
remember who else was all on stage, but when they were talking about that, it was, no offense to them, but it was kind of a Dunsky moment for me, like, duh, like, why aren't I doing this? Like, it
mhm,
was it was almost embarrassing in a way, like, I can't believe I'm not doing this. And then talking to Laura actually separately, her and I had talked a little bit about, just kind of the cadence in which she kind of grew her team, and that kind of motivation for me to think about the same thing. So when I went into 2023, it was basically for every so many clients slash dollars in revenue. Whether I don't even think about it, I don't pontificate on it, I don't overthink it. We had a person, no matter what. And that's, because I even remember making the request to you guys over the
yeah,
year, and you're like, again, really? And I'm like, yep, just do it, do it. Just I was just trying to keep pushing it through to stick to my plan.
yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, hiring people is difficult and it's also very intimidating. How how did you get over the fear? How did you push through?
I just kind of stopped overthinking it. I've hired and fired, been kind of in that leadership role for many, many years in my
Mhm,
career. And it wasn't I think as agency owners, there's so many things we need, there's so many things we need from a talent perspective. And I think
mhm.
we try to seek unicorns and we try to find people that can do five different things. And I think that's limiting, and I think it slows us down because then we never quite find the right person, like, this person
Yeah,
was
that's
good at
true.
this, but I just think it's an overthinking process where I looked at it more this year with, I don't care if they can do 5 things, I need them to do one thing really, really well, and if they can do a
Mhm,
second or third thing, great, but I'm not even gonna worry about that until I get them in the seat.
mhm.
So I really tried to, I look at it like a sports team, like, I need a all-star point guard, that's it.
Yes.
That's all I
Right.
need. And then if he shows up and can score too, well, great.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
otherwise, I just need that person to dribble.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, to use the football analogy, you don't need your lineman to be kicking field goals.
No.
Hire a field goal kicker. You
Yeah.
contract a field goal kicker. That's great.
Yeah, and you always, with every person, there comes a handful of surprises or a couple skill sets you didn't know they had, but
Mhm.
I just take those as extras.
Right, right. We call that, or I've been calling that professionalizing the agency, right? Where we're like, one of those main things that you just touched upon was getting the right person in the right seat, and we just make sure that they can just do that one role, and every agency that's scaling to seven figures and beyond, they all go through that. You ended up having to find these specialists. And honestly, you don't have the time to be able to take a generalist and turn them into that A player specialist because you guys are moving so fast. Have you experienced that as well?
Absolutely, and I also experienced the not having to carry the weight of this sounds weird, but not having to carry the weight of caring anymore.
Hmm.
So, like, when I brought in my first project manager, I taught her as much as I could, like, "Well, here's how I do it," and then she basically just wiped the slate clean and did it the right way. And then
I love that.
I could have, I could have overthought that and thought, "Well, no, that's not the way I would have done it," like, but I just took a step back and I thought, "Well, it's not hurting anything to do it her way versus my way." And I don't really care. I just know I need to know that piece is taken care of, and
Hmm.
then I can move on to the next thing. So I think the distance and the separation that you put between you and that person when you trust them,
Hmm.
so you gotta it's a process, but it's a healthy outcome
Yeah. No,
because now I'm impartial to it.
I mean, you got to pat yourself on the back there too, though, for having the self awareness and kind of like the emotional intelligence to step away and courage to be able to step away and be like, you know what, I'm just going to trust this person that they're going to be able to do it as good, if not better than me. Have you thought about that, or is there anything that you've done personally to try and, I guess, trust people more? That's the thing that a lot of us have trouble with.
Look, the thing is, it wasn't that long ago. Just we're talking like last January, last February.
Hmm.
I was involved in every piece of activity that came through the company. I was somehow involved or leading it or the main communicator to the client. So
Right.
just like 6, 7 months ago, nothing happened without my thumb on it. And I never wanted it that way, but that's just kind of the how it ended up being. So over the course of 4, 5, 6, 7 months now, I've handed more and more off to the point where there are so many aspects now that I trust that it's taken care of, but I'm out of the weeds completely, and I'm learning about, home runs secondhand now. Like, hey, we really killed it on this. I'm like, when did that happen? And and that's totally fine
Right.
because I think it then gives me the space to just celebrate the employee a little bit and celebrate the
Right.
growth, but then also just let them shine, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I talk about this all the time is that when you're hiring, especially those A player leadership roles, is essentially you find the right person, right? And then you just kind of get the hell out of their way.
Yeah.
You empower them to be able, and you give them the tools to be able to be successful, and you just kind of let them run, and
Yep.
you try and remove barriers so that they can spend as much time in their week as possible doing the specific things that you are able to hire them to do.
Yeah, and the other thing I've noticed is when you have those people, when they do ask questions, they're really good questions.
Hmm.
Like, they're not like dumb questions. They come and ask you something and you're like, "Oh, I don't know. I never thought of that." And all of a sudden you're like, you're deeper into it now because they've asked such a good quality question because it's now evolving to where probably it should have been the whole time, but when I was doing everything, I didn't have the time to really take it that far.
Is it weird to see the evolution of the business and the evolution of your role as well? Because and let me like before you answer, let me kind of explain where I'm coming from because a lot of people that start agencies, right? We have experience as a designer or a marketer, right? And then you start to build this business, and then where you're at, you have 20 something employees. It's hard for people to let go of their identity of where they started from of being like a designer, right? So like that's kind of where my question comes from is like, is this transition kind of scary or weird or like, I don't know. Tell us how it's going.
For me, it's kinda like riding a bike. So, in my prior career, I had teams of people I mean, I was involved, but I had
Mhm.
teams of people that took care of all the execution, and I
Yeah.
had,
Okay.
people to manage in that way from a leadership perspective. So I know what that feels like. But when I left the corporate world and started Cyberdogz, I was right back in the trenches. I was a one-man show, and I kind of reacquainted myself with having to be the guy who does everything.
Mhm.
So to your question, to have to let that go and evolve, rewind the clock 8 years and be like I was before, it's been a little bit of a challenge, but it's kind of nervous energy more than anything because
Mhm.
I don't know what to do. Like sometimes I'm just like, I don't, do you need anything from me or what's going on? And then, they just go, no, we're good. I'm like, okay, I guess I'll do something else. So
Right, right.
it's that, and it's a good feeling, but it's more, I want to make sure I'm not letting them down in the process.
Yeah.
So
That's the sign of a great leader, you
yeah.
know? When you talk about your corporate world experience, 'cause I also have worked for big companies. My first job, was a Fortune 500 company. Do you ever worry that the company will lose its culture or that thing that makes it special as you're professionalizing the business? Or have you kind of envisioned like, okay, these are the things that we're never going to do as a company?
Both. I mean, I'm worried about becoming too corporate and becoming too stuffy and becoming
Mhm.
disconnected from the people.
Mm,
But to counteract that, I'm making sure that, the culture's evolving and being documented as we go. But I try to make sure that the culture is maintained and kind of by me, so to speak.
mm,
So I crack the jokes, I come to the meetings, I keep it lighthearted. I'm doing everything I can to make people have fun,
mhm.
because I know it's a little unrealistic, but I want us to all be friends and get to know each other and kind of to have this family vibe. And
Yeah.
I think we have that to a degree, but it is abstract because, like anybody who's come from the outside that has worked in a professional setting and, places where it's HR, thick and whatnot, like it's a little bit of a adjustment for them as to how
Mhm,
casual it is. I think we can survive and maintain a culture that's very lighthearted and fun.
mhm,
We just have to, continue to do the work and hit the deadlines and keep the clients happy. I mean, that's always the byproduct of, what the company needs. But at the end of the day, I want people to have fun and to come to work and enjoy what they're doing. Cause that's why I started this whole thing. I mean, yes, I need to make money to survive and so does everybody else, but I really just wanted to do stuff that's fun. So
Where do you draw leadership inspiration from? Because as you're growing this company, leadership is becoming even more important, and you're like empowering other people. Where are you learning these new leadership skills that you're implementing?
kind of all over. So in the culture that I was in before Cyberdogs, we
Hmm.
read a lot of books. So a lot
Hmm.
of John Maxwell, Good to
Hmm.
Great, if Aristotle ran General Motors. I would say a lot of very traditional leadership books, and they're good, don't get me wrong. But when I started Cyberdogs and kind of the mindset going into it is I wanted follow and look at leaders that are a little bit more rebellious because I feel like that's who we are and it aligns
Yep.
better with me personally. So I read a lot of Richard Branson stuff,
Hmm.
a lot of Phil Knight stuff, Gary V's, he's always got a nugget or two that are fantastic. And then I
Yeah.
just Rob Dyrdek's another one. It's kind of a strange one, but Rob
Oh, I like
Dyrdek,
that guy. Yeah,
yeah,
he's a
Rob
great guy.
Dyrdek's, yeah, he is. I think he is just phenomenal. And YouTube, podcasts, uh, anywhere online. But I'm constantly kind of looking that stuff up and I study, you know, um, it might not be the most traditional, but I like to study, Bruce Lee and Evil Knievel and
Mm,
kind of what makes those people tick. And like I look at a lot of that stuff and I think it kind of helps us keep our leadership kind of edgy in a way
mhm,
so
mhm,
that we're kind of thinking progressively and we're thinking about kind of how to do things different. And at the end of the day, like we just don't have those kinds of real problems. I mean, we're faced with challenges, with different things we have to overcome in a day. But to try to keep the culture and the kind of the leadership mindset lighthearted, we don't have really life or death challenges. I'm not going to die if the client doesn't like the logo. It's going to be fine. We're going to take another whack at it. It'll fix itself. So we try to keep, keep kind of that mindset, kind of fluent throughout our team meetings and just do the best you can. That's it.
I mean, that's easier said than done though, Mike, because a lot of people like you get so wrapped up in the work that you're doing. Like, what do you do to maintain that perspective? Because that's a skill as well.
Some of it I think is just personal life experience.
Hmm.
I've have dealt with stuff that's like really bad, and then it's
Hmm.
like, okay, this is nothing compared to that.
Right,
But
right.
also over time, especially as a designer and a creative, sometimes people don't see your vision or they just disagree with it, and
Hmm.
you can't let that spin you out. So like, I'll just as an example, like our logo. Like I personally, I love our logo, and I get a lot of feedback on our logo. Most of the time, people love it as well. But every once in a while, I get somebody who goes, "I don't like that logo. Looks weird,"
Of
and
course.
somebody will just tear it apart, and I just shrug it off and go, whatever. It's not for everybody." And you just go on to the next thing because just carrying that baggage with you or letting that kind of drag you down or ruin your day, it just isn't worth it. And
This
at the
has
end
got
of
to
the
be like a Minnesota thing because I see so many people that lose their shit when somebody comments on something that they designed, like the
yeah,
logo.
I don't know
Uh,
that I've ever like lost my shit. I used to be more sensitive to it when I was
mhm.
earlier in my career because it was kind of a kick in the shorts, like
Yeah, yeah,
what don't you like about it? And it kind of hurts your feelings. But now it's like,
right.
meh, whatever. Because you just over time, you kind of look at it as wins and losses.
Yeah.
And, at this stage in my career, I have a lot more wins than losses. So whatever. It is what it is.
Just let it roll off
Yep.
your back or whatever. Not a huge deal. Well, I mean, you do also have the family, right? I can't remember. You have how many kids?
We have one little one currently. She
Uh,
turned 2 in July, and we have another one on the way due in April.
I didn't know this.
Yeah.
Congratulations!
Yeah. So that's
Wow.
pretty exciting.
So you're about to be a family of four. I mean, this is another uh topic that we could talk about for just one entire show. Is like, how are you managing growing an agency this fast, right? And also the home life, making sure that your family is taken care of and then dealing with all that stress because I think that's another thing that breaks a lot of people. Is like you start thinking about all the impacts. It's like I can't lose this client because then, my kid's not going to be able to eat and stuff like that. So what are you doing to manage all of this?
You know, the time is when Ronan, that's our girl's name, when she goes off to daycare, I just make sure that I work every minute from the time she walks out the door till the time she gets back so that when mom and baby come home, I'm available. And not that I can't still work in between, but I
Mhm.
just try to keep that balance so that I'm really productive when I have the place to myself or I have a time dedicated to the team or whatever it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, right.
And as far as like the pressure, I mean, yeah, there is pressure there, I've dealt with a lot of pressure in my career, so I think I'm okay with it. But
Mm.
the thing that always kind of sticks in my head is I was looking for a job when I found this one. So if it ever got that bad, and it's not the first or the last time I'm looking for work, so it'll be fine,
Right.
and I'll just figure it out. But I don't see that happening. Like, because I every once in a while I'll get the team will ask, like, "Aren't you nervous about this?" And I'm like, "Nah, no." I mean, we've gone through little ups and downs and peaks and valleys in the last 8 years, and it figures itself out. If you stick to your plan and you have a kind of a strategy and a way of doing things, you might stumble on a few, but if you stick to that and you've proven to yourself that it works,
Mhm.
it'll the pendulum will swing back around eventually. You just have to trust it. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners, they panic.
Yes.
Something's not going right. I got to blow this thing up. No, 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 don't do that. Because now you're starting at a negative spot. Like you have to stick to your plan. That is the most important part.
So I gotta ask you because I wanna figure out, like, you're not telling me something. Where did this ability to keep your composure come from?
I don't know. I've always been pretty chill and relaxed, but, like, kind of going through my career and experiencing different leaders and leading people and different kinds of people,
Mhm,
and just kind of the roller coaster of the last 25 years.
mhm.
I think it's I think it's taught me a lot. I think I've definitely developed some skills in that process, but I also think it's numbed me in certain areas where I just decide that I can't let that thing drag me down, or I will not carry that baggage with me, because tomorrow's a new day and we get to start over. And
Yeah.
if we're doing the right things, and like we try our if we're trying our best every day, it's gonna sort itself out. That's just how it works.
Because most agency owners, there's a problem that comes up, and even, what you are saying about time management, so, like, when you're working 100%, family comes home, and then you're with family. It's so hard for people to be able to do that because what happens is that, like, you get an email, it's 4:30 in the afternoon, you're about to take off to go watch the kids' soccer practice or whatever, and then you're like, "Crap, I can't leave." And then the priority becomes work, 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 and you end up neglecting all the things that you wanna take that, like, you neglect the things that inspire you to work so hard in the first place, and then you end up losing those things because you never make those things a priority. And so that's, like, what usually happens to most people. I mean, like, what you have, it's like a superpower, your ability to just remain calm and stay focused and stick to the plan.
I can tell you where part of it came from is, like, this is no joke. I spent my 30s, so from the time I was 30 years old till the time I turned 40,
Mhm,
I was still in a corporate environment,
mhm,
and I was working 70 to 80 hours a week. I was not married at the time, so I didn't have anybody to go home to, and I didn't necessarily have responsibilities outside of my work.
mhm.
And I legit worked 70, 80 hours a week. I'd get up at 4:30, 5 a.m. every day, work out or whatever I was gonna do. I would go to work. I wouldn't get home till 7, 8 o'clock, at maybe 9 o'clock at night sometimes.
Oof.
I would pull overnighters. Like,
Oh
the
my
longest
gosh.
stretch I ever worked, I worked 36 hours straight one time because we had a project pending.
Mm,
And, like, I did stuff like that for a decade, and I didn't quite burn myself out, but I definitely knew I don't wanna do this forever, 'cause there's a tipping point in working that hard where it doesn't pay off. I mean, I think I learned a lot in there, and I think there's aspects of peaks and valleys where it did pay off.
mhm.
But then there was a part of just ridiculousness where it's like, "What am I doing?" I'm gonna probably die at 50 if I keep this up. And
Right, right,
it was one of the reasons why I stepped away from that career, but I just learned a lot from that life's too short, and there's nothing that important out there. Not with what we're doing.
right, right.
Yeah.
Well, that's true. We do happen to take ourselves way too seriously from time to time.
Yeah.
You need to have that perspective and
And that's
recognize.
and that's great. Like, I also take my career and what we do to my clients, I take it all seriously, but it's not life or death. And I I think most of my clients will agree with that.
Yeah. So, getting back to the work-life balance and the family, how do you stay disciplined to turn off the computer basically and really devote to being with the family? Because it's so easy to get dragged back into doing the work. Like, are you the type of person that will, once the kids are put to bed, then you'll pop back open the laptop and start working? Or do you literally just shut off the computer?
You know, so, like I said, we're gonna hit our 8-year anniversary in
Mhm,
November. I would say leading up to our probably 6.5 year mark, I was still working a lot of nights, a lot of weekends.
mhm,
I would step away when I could, but yeah, there'd be a lot of nights the wife would go to bed and I'd sit up till midnight on the computer or whatever.
mhm,
I decided about that 6.5 year mark that this just can't happen anymore. And especially when Ronan was born, I
mhm.
was like, I have to stop doing that unless it's an emergency. I have to stop doing that because it's an addiction almost. Like, I
Oh,
start
yeah.
doing it, and all of a sudden I get a flow going, and I'm like, I'm just gonna keep working until I get tired. And then all of a sudden it's 4 in the morning, and it's like, I just need to not do it, not tempt myself, and just have the discipline to say no. And when Ronan was born, that was one of the things is that I just decided to myself that as much as I can help it, I'm not doing that anymore. So for most of 2022 and all of 2023, I don't work nights and weekends. And
So what
that's
happens though,
something
like
that's
if
new.
if the team has a question or whatever that they need to get a hold of you? Are there policies that you have in place, or like what do you do if they need something and you're basically, you've gone home for the day?
There are the emergencies where they'll reach out on Slack or something, and
Mhm.
I'll certainly answer them. But we've also, it kind of on purpose, but kind of a happy accident is that we've kind of developed kind of the system that we kind of know when each other are done for the day, and we kind of
Mhm.
know and respect that space. So with our different resources, I mean, our resources are spread out all over the country and some
Mhm.
internationally. So we're kind of in operation, I don't know, 16 to 18 hours a day,
Mhm.
depending on who's clocking in at what time. So when you think about it, there's only 6-ish hours in a day where we probably completely go dark. And then the other 16 to 18 hours, there's always somebody involved or doing something for Cyberdogs.
Mhm.
So that to me kind of gives us the cushion, gives me the freedom to step away because there's already somebody else dealing with it in most cases.
For me, when I started my agency, I had the majority of our staff in the Philippines. I think everybody actually was in the Philippines to begin with, aside from me and my partner. That ended up being a negative for us, because like they would have questions, I would be asleep, I wake up, project's not done, and then we can't actually have direct communication for another, 6, 7, 8 hours sometimes. Like how do you manage to get around that?
We've stumbled a few times, just
Yeah.
miscommunicated or time zones got screwed up or whatever.
Hmm.
But for the most part, we've been lucky. And like I said, it was kind of by design, but kind of a happy accident that we found balance in all that quickly.
Hmm.
And I mean, nothing saying that's gonna stay that way forever. I hope it does. But for right now, like we've got a really good balance going with the time and kind of the separation of personal versus professional.
Yeah. I mean, everything you're saying right now, and just kind of how the beliefs about how you live your life and what you prioritize. I say this all the time as well. It's like, the values that you have for your personal life, they absolutely carry over into the business. And so I'm seeing a lot of that as we're talking about this. Do you also find that the people that you're hiring, for example, like, you brought on 2 new project managers recently and another very talented developer, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people that you have in the pipeline as well. But are you finding that the people that you're attracting to the company are also they also share the same types of values? Are you seeing that as well?
I think so. It seems like it's almost suppressed though in a way because it takes them a little while to be like,
To come out of their
oh
shell?
yeah, it's for them to open up and to kind of realize that it really is this way.
Yeah.
And and it's everything from, we take on some projects sometimes that just fill our cup. It's not
Mhm.
necessarily about the money, it's just it fills our cup. Um, you know, we I don't know, we collaborate and talk about who likes what movies, and we're just kind
Mhm.
of
Mhm.
having kind of a dedicated personal connection on some of these meetings with the team and stuff like that. I think makes a huge difference because it opens everybody up to this idea of comfortability and kind of being a team and getting to
Mhm.
know each other. But then
Mhm.
with that, to your point, is I try to make sure that they understand that I would never ask them to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. But I also, because I like to have fun and because I have the work life balance and because I kind of have engineered the brand in a certain way where it benefits us to be on the team. It's not a
Mhm.
hindrance to their life. I want them to adopt that too. I think sometimes as the agency owner, people think, well, you're the owner. That means you should get all the benefits and we should do all the work. And I'm like, no, we should all get the benefits. Like
Yeah.
that's how, if we're doing it right, we should all have the same experience. We should all be feeling the same way about the agency and the fun and the freedom and the like.
I love that.
Under no circumstances do I want them to like. I want you to suffer so I can go enjoy my life. No,
Yeah, you wanna create the 3 wins, right? The client's gotta win, you, the owner, the company has gotta win, and all the team members have to win as well.
right?
Everybody's gotta be happy.
Yep.
I love that. Well, where do you see, Cyberdogz going? You know, you had a breakout year in 2023. Knock on wood, we've got some massive goals that we'll be hitting.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourselves in 2024?
Honestly, I can see us having another year like 2023 and probably, I don't want to say doubling, but I think we're going to have a monster year in 2024 because even what, I mean, we're calling it 2023, but we didn't start a lot of this journey till about February, and uh it's been an enjoyable chaos leading up to this point. So
Mhm.
I don't even feel like the dust is settled. I don't even feel like we're settled in for what we really are yet. I'm hoping by the end of the year, we kind of have a good calibration of who we are as a team so that we can go into 2024 and just completely crush it and crush it sales wise, but also crush it from a freedom perspective, from a culture perspective. Like I just want to be operating at a different level from inside and out in 2024.
Well, now you're forcing me to ask you a much more deeper question. So what does Mike Brevick, December 31st, 2024, what does that person look like? What does he know how to do that he doesn't know how to do now? Like, what's the next version of yourself?
Well, the team itself, like right now, I'm trying to get everybody to not necessarily run on autopilot, but I want to get this whole thing to be able to run without me. So
Mhm.
if I get hit by a beer truck on December 31st, everything's going to be fine because the whole machine now doesn't need me.
Right.
And then for 2024, one of the big things that we're planning on doing is as much as we've marketed Cyberdogz up to this point, you can multiply that times 10 for 2024. Like from
Oh, nice.
podcast to just branding to paid ads to merch. Like I don't ever see myself as like a fashion brand or anything, but I definitely want to put the brand all over the country. I want to be a lot more West Coast with our client set. There's just a lot from a brand and a company perspective, messaging that we want to get out there in 2024. And that I think will be my primary focus once the team is running everything else.
Can you give us any snippets of what that branding, expansion, marketing looks like? Without giving, you don't have to give away everything. You mentioned the podcast, so I don't know if there's anything else that you could say.
Well, it's kind of twofold. One is that we need to start telling the stories we just haven't told.
Mhm.
So things that we've done over the last 4 or 5 years, from building custom motorcycles with Milwaukee Tool and Janus motorcycles to working with the Chuck Jones Center for Creativity to, I mean, we've done a handful of cool things that we've never shown to the world because we were so busy doing everybody else's stuff. So I think that's kind of phase one is like, let's use this content and get out there and tell those stories. But then I think to layer on top of that is what do we do next? Like now that we've and I know this doesn't make sense from an agency perspective, but now that we've built a custom motorcycle with our brand on it and all this stuff, now what do we do? Like, should we be on the side of a NASCAR? Should we, rent the Goodyear blimp or what do we do next that's cool that we can put some efforts towards and just tell a story around? Cause that's the kind of stuff I think that really fills our cup in a way.
Yeah.
Our clients love it and the team loves it. And we've talked about everything from kind of generating a comic book to, how do we, I don't know, how do we just put our brand on more stuff, more partnerships, more affiliations?
Well, for like what it is that you guys do, like that type of marketing, I think it works really well because you're going to attract the types of clients that are like, "Ooh, I really love that idea." You know, I might not have anything to do with motorcycles, But that Milwaukee branded motorcycle that you guys build is badass, which it is badass.
Yeah.
So I think that's really, really I think that's a great idea. I love the way that you approach that.
Yeah, and it's just, it's everything from even looking at industries like that we just like to be in.
Mhm.
Like, I've always thought it would be fun to work with skateboard companies. Yeah, maybe we'll chase that, stuff like that where we just wanna kinda take some big swings and kinda get our engine rolling in that way again. We've been in kind of infrastructure mode here for the last probably
Mhm.
18 months. So it's gonna be fun to shift out of that in 2024 again.
Awesome. There's somebody out there that's listening to this podcast and they're like, "Man, I want Mike's life." For that person, just give me like your 2 biggest tips that that person can take away today and start putting into place so that they can have, something similar to what you've built for yourself.
I think the biggest is, um, the first thing is you gotta jump. If you're a freelancer or somebody who does the side hustle, if this is something you wanna do, there's no easing into it. It's, you jump. You plan for it, you jump, you take the risk, you go for it, and like, I honestly believe if you take that jump and you're well thought out with you have to have a plan and you have to have, some ideas around what you wanna do, but if you
Right,
have
right.
those things in place and you jump and you work hard at it, it's almost impossible to fail. But jumping is the hardest part, and people are really scared of that. I have clients that wanna make moves like that, but they just, "Ugh, I'm gonna wait another month, I'm gonna wait another 6 months," and they just keep talking themselves out of it, and it's like, nothing's gonna change in the next 6 months. It's like,
This is what I'm talking about. This is your superpower, man, where you're just like,
yeah,
"It's not gonna be that bad." Or
it's really not, and you'll figure it out, and jumping is number 1, and number 2 is people are afraid of struggle, they're afraid of failure, and that's what you need that. Like, you have to screw up more than you succeed to learn, so plan for it. Just go into it knowing that, like, don't get crushed the first time somebody doesn't like something or the first time it doesn't go bad because you have to fail. It's the only way, struggling is the only way to grow a muscle. It's the
Yeah,
only way.
absolutely.
If you don't screw up and make mistakes, you don't learn. Like, it's part of the process. So just plan for it. Be okay with it because
Yeah,
most people, again, they start screwing up or they start failing and they start to question themselves. They start to doubt themselves. They want to quit. They start to
right.
think, "Oh, maybe this was a bad idea." And it's like, "No, this is just part of it." And if you're screwing up, you're doing it right. So keep screwing up.
It's great. Hey, Mike, you've been awesome, man. We're about out of time here. What's the best way for somebody to follow you or reach out to you if they might have questions? Or maybe they
Yeah.
have a referral too.
Yeah. They can find us at cyberdogsmarketing.com and at cyberdogs with a Z. Or they can look me up on LinkedIn and connect with me personally. That's totally fine too. And we also have a podcast called Brand Retro. We're just getting back in the swing of things. We're recording about one a week right now, where we talk a lot about stuff like this. We bring in other agency owners and people in different industries. It's very similar to this, but it's kind of a fun podcast, and you learn a lot about different people and their challenges and how they overcome them and all that good stuff.
I love the name Brand Retro. See, you're so
Yeah.
much more creative than me.
So
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for being here. You're the best. So, for those that are listening, reach out to Mike. He is a genuinely great human being. I promise you, it's somebody that you want to hang out with. He's just such a nice guy and obviously very talented and running a super successful agency. So, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you on the next episode. Hey, thank you for listening. And if you enjoyed this episode, it would mean so much to me if you would subscribe to the podcast and also share it with friends, family, and basically anyone you know who will find the same value in this episode as you do. So, to get the latest from me, then let's connect on social media on the Facebooks at facebook.com/dude agency or Instagram at dudeagency.io. Then you can also find us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and even TikTok. Yes, I'm that cool. We are on TikTok. Finally, go to our website at dudeagency.io where you can see all of our other episodes of Operation Agency Freedom, Register for live trainings on how to run a highly profitable agency, and you can see exactly how we help marketing agencies fix their operations and scale to 8 figures and beyond. Thanks again for listening, and I will see you next time.